Good evening, good afternoon, good wherever you are in the world. I'm Kelari Cuddles, and this is the first ever Kelari Showcase. Now, what is a Kelari Showcase? Well, first off, this is the Kelari, and this is the Showcase, where I talk about things related to gaming of the games I like to play, just outrageous things we see in gaming, and if there's nothing for me to talk about related to that, sometimes you might see the occasional skit, which you will find out soon enough what those are in future episodes. With that said, let's get straight into the Kalari Showcase. Cue the intro. Come on, do it. This is the Kalari Showcase. We didn't have money for a transition, so this is what you get. Boop. Alright, so now that we have the Kelari Showcase started, let's talk about it. And it's no showcase and ranting of game-related material is great without a cup of tea. And there's actually some tea in here, so let's have my tea. The only ASMR you're going to get on this channel. So, we're going to be talking about a subject that is kind of like, there's a lot of misinformation out there. There's a lot of people who don't know about it. There's a lot of people who do know about it, but, don't really have an opinion or do have an opinion and they don't know what to say or ask or... Let's just get into the topic at hand. It's the end of an era for World of Warcraft add-ons in Midnight. So what does that mean? If you ask the modders who make these add-ons, they will have a completely different story, as this is now taking a hit into their livelihood, as add-on creators do make some coin from making these add-ons. If you speak to a hardcore WoW player who does raiding, progression rating, Mythic Plus of the higher key variety, they will have a different opinion. I am going to be coming at this opinion from a casual player. I have done hardcore progression before. I have done the higher keys in Mythic Plus, so add-ons do mean something to me as well. But now that I'm reeling back to be more casual and enjoy the game of World of Warcraft instead of going sweaty and being hardcore about it, I want to speak about this from a casual's perspective and also from a disabled gamer perspective, because I am disabled. Yes, I might not be in a wheelchair or blind, but I do have a chronic condition that does make playing World of Warcraft difficult for me in some aspects. So I do want to approach from those two point of views. So I have devised a list. I would say here would normally be a list, but we ain't got graphics yet. So we have devised a list, and by we, I mean me, of the areas that I want to talk about with this video. So let's get into the points. Bam. First detail we're going to talk about on the list is combat add-ons are going bye-bye. As stated, they are in fact going away. You can expect to see things like weak auras, DBM, Hillbot, big wigs, little wigs, details, recount, whatever other combat add-ons that are out there that are going away. They will no longer work in raiding, progression, dungeons, and maybe even delves. I'm not too sure because I haven't seen them mention anything about delves, but I'm assuming delves too because I use DBM and delves, and I'm assuming that counts too, but I don't know. Don't quote me, maybe just comment down below and say, hey, they're including delves. We need to take a first look at why Blizzard wants to do what they're doing. And why they want the add-ons to go away. Ultimately, it comes down to the add-ons arm race. Add-ons have really simplified gaming and make you take a lot of the guesswork out of encounters, which is both a crutch and a good thing, depending on how you look at it. One might say it's a double-edged sword. Yeah, okay. This has changed the player base overall, and now mechanics are harder to try and combat the add-ons, which makes the game not so friendly to the casual player or to a new player or a returning player. Players are ultimately exhausted, according to Blizzard, on having to figure out add-ons, put certain settings in, interact with guilds and players and all that stuff, and it just creates less of a community than what Blizzard used to be if you played back in the day. So, with that said, I need to approach this in 3 different perspectives to really paint to you Blizzard's narrative based off what I've read and then my own opinion on the subject. So, back in the day when I used to raid, so giving you some content or material on my background, I used to be a hardcore raider back in the end of Vanilla WoW, all of TBC, and Wrath of the Lich King. I raided. And add-ons did exist, yes, but at least my guild, my server, my group of friends, my raiding team, a lot of us did not use these add-ons because you could have gotten a virus on your computer, you could have got a keylogger onto your account where your account got hacked and stolen from you, etc., etc., etc. So we raided back then fine with no add-ons. We had a team that would call out where you needed to go, where you needed to stand, where you need to move, what to dodge. We were really, really strong with our communication skills, and we worked as a unit. People would say whatever their role was, like, hey, I got this, I'm cleansing this, hey, I'm interrupting this. We all talked, but we were respectful on that level, minus the few shenanigans, we would say. Multiple people spoke at certain turns based off the part of the encounter, and that was the raiding experience, at least for me. So, I'm ultimately saying you could technically be without those add-ons, but let me go into perspective number 2. Players, yes, are fatigued with these complex add-ons and needing them. I don't mind having add-ons for encounters because I do use them. I do use DBM, I do use details, but when you have to download something, when it is required to have an add-on to play with friends, then it becomes more of a problem to me. Now, in Season 1 and 2 of this expansion, I did raid, and we pushed for heroic progression. I even went and got Keystone Master, but I enjoyed the glutton, or the punishment of Keystone Mastering, but still, I did do raiding. I would use the add-ons that I normally use because there was no actual requirement of add-ons, but as they started to push towards Mythic, then there became a requirement. You had to have this add-on, you had to have it set this way, you had to do this, or you were not allowed to play. And that to me really sets a very unwelcoming, less warm approach, and it doesn't really make me want to play the content. Also, I've noticed that there are people using these add-ons as a weapon when they're really there to help the player. Now, this said, I'll give an example of what I mean by this. Details, for example. I love using details. It's not to judge other players who are doing less DPS or more DPS than me. It's really for me to keep myself in check on, hey, if I see I'm underperforming DPS-wise, I'll look at the other players. Like, okay, they have a bigger gear advantage than me. Maybe they're the meta right now. XYZ, there's different reasons. But hey, if I am more geared than these people and I see I'm doing bad, then I start to look at myself. I don't look at the other players. I look at myself. I was like, okay, maybe my rotation is bad. Maybe my build is bad. Maybe I need different gems. Maybe I need different enchants. So I use that add-on more as a self-check. But I do see people using it as a weapon towards players, saying, oh, you didn't interrupt enough. Oh, you didn't use defensives enough. Oh, you didn't do this enough. You didn't do this enough. You didn't do this enough. And there, it makes the community not seem so friendly. It makes the gaming not seem so friendly. It makes the community not seem so friendly. And it kind of like pushes people away. So yes, I can understand where Blizzard is coming from saying that there is an add-on fatigue because there are people using add-ons as a weapon. But I want to state, that is no fault to the add-on writers or the people who create the add-ons. That is the World of Warcraft community. Those are the players of the game who have made this problem. And now lastly, my third point is why I disagree with Blizzard. I'm going to be coming from the perspective of a casual player and the disabled player. There are several things about casual players, and I know several casual players, and there's a lot about encounters that they just do not understand. Not every encounter is tank and spank. There are mechanics, things you need to dodge, when to use defensives, when to cleanse, when to interrupt, what to interrupt, because yeah, there's some multiple spells you can interrupt, but not all of them are as important as maybe this one that, makes a debuff where it's harder to heal. Like that one, obviously, like, yes, kick that one first. And if you do not know all of this stuff, because this requires researching, reading about the raid, reading about the dungeon, reading about the bosses, reading about the enemies, what their spells do, and understanding all of that, the regular casual player is not going to do all of that. They just want to go into the game and play it. And maybe they want to be a little less casual, be like semi-sweaty, but semi-casual at the same time, but they don't understand how these encounters work. So having an add-on like DBM telling them, hey, get out of stupid, hey, use your defensives, hey, interrupt this, that really is useful to a casual player who might not understand the whole picture of encounters. And also coming from a disabled perspective, I use Healbot when I am healing because I can't really move my hands really far and fast across the keyboard because my hands do get stiff. Sometimes they get swollen and it's very difficult for me to do that. So I like to keep my hand on one spot and really not move further from that. Maybe with my mouse. So having Healbot where I can do like shift control and hit those buttons and then just click was very, very useful for me. So now with it going away, I'm probably not going to heal anymore because it's not very beneficial to me. But when we get into the different add-ons in this list, I'm going to also give suggestions on maybe some things Blizzard could consider if they ever see this video. So ultimately, with the combat add-ons going bye-bye and why Blizzard wants to do it, I both agree and disagree. So I don't really know where I sit on it. I do agree that some of them should be limited or like reduced down, but at the same time, I'm looking at it from how I play the game and how other people I play the game with play the game, and I don't agree as well. The second subject now being the list of add-ons that I particularly have used in the past. So first is Healbot. As stated previously, I am disabled. I get really bad inflammation in my hand. It sometimes causes my hands to swell to Mickey Mouse hand level, which therefore makes moving my hand across the entire keyboard very difficult. It really comes bad when I type, but generally when I play World of Warcraft, I have one hand on one side of my keyboard and my other hand on my mouse. So when I play, when I use spells or attacks or whatever, 1, 2, 3, 4, generally I press with my little fingies here, and the rest I point and click with my mouse. I have adapted to this. I know a lot of people don't like people who click abilities, but when you have to play this way, you adjust to it very quickly. So when it comes to healing, Healbot was a great add-on for me because now I can keep my hand on this side of my keyboard and use my mouse to click on the Healbot frames and do my healing. This does not welcome me into midnight wanting to be a healer, because if I cannot do this, I'm not going to be able to heal very efficiently. I'm going to be a poo-poo healer, if I'm going to be honest. And the idea of having to click each frame to target the person when before you could just make a keyframe or a keybind to target a player, that really also doesn't make me want to heal either. I really see healers moving forward just targeting the tanks so they can heal the tanks and relying heavily on AoE healing to heal people in the party. My challenge to Blizzard, or my idea of the suggestion to Blizzard, if they have even thought of it, is how tab targeting works for DPS and tanks. When you enter a encounter as a healer, so when you walk your little tootsies into the raid instance, or when you walk your little tootsies into a dungeon instance, your tab targeting now tabs between the players in the party. Now, yes, I am aware that there are some healing classes that require you to do damage to be a better healer, like Discipline and Misweaving, but they can also add an other implication there. Like, okay, you want to damage as well? Okay, well, for you to target mobs, you now have to shift tab or whatever. There's a way to swap between it. So that's my suggestion for Healbot if you haven't thought of anything, Blizzard. But for me, honestly, I think without Healbot, I probably am not going to heal anymore because it's not going to be very good for my hands, and I'm not going to put myself in pain trying to heal and be the best damn healer in the world. I did that back in the day before I had my hand issue. Not again. Not for me. The second add-on is recount or details, or as I read it in reverse here, details or recount. As I stated, I have always used this as a tool, mostly to make myself better. I don't care about what other players are doing, really, unless someone asks, hey, how was my DPS? And then I'll be honest with them. But ultimately, I don't use it as a weapon, as I have seen the community use it as a weapon, because I have had people where I've joined mythic teams for keystones or for raiding, where they literally are sitting there counting how many times you've interrupted, how many times you've used a defensive, how many times you've done this. And to me, that doesn't make a better player. That just gives you an excuse to be a bully, honestly. Let's be real about it, honestly. But if you, the person, you, the player, has decided, I want to do keystones, I want to do raiding, you know you have to uphold yourself and be a part of the team. So you can't rely on a raid leader or a person of your raid or a person of your dungeon group to tell you how to play your class. You have decided you want to do this content, so you as the player need to make yourself be the best version of the class you have decided to play. So that is where I use details. I used to use recount, but it used to not get like all the greatest updates and it didn't give you all the information you wanted. So details was better for me in that regard. So not having that, I mean, yes, I know there are sites where you can go sim yourself and all that stuff, but I don't want to do all that. I really don't. I just want to stay in WoW, not go to some website and try and figure out my gear and do all of this stuff. Like, I don't like doing that. That's not enjoyable to me. Yes, I know it's a useful tool, and those that use it, great for you, but it's just not for me. I like to use details because I can go into an encounter, I can see how I did the encounter, I can look at what abilities I use, what damage output it put, and then I can look at the other players. While once again, I'm not judging the other players, but I have to look at other players as to why did this person do more DPS than me? Then I look at their gear. I look at, you know, well, ultimately, if they're meta, because some classes do better in expansions than others. We know that. Me as a hunter crying eternally. So with that said, I have always used it as a tool for how to get myself better. So if I eliminate from that, okay, this person has higher gear than me, of course they're going to do more DPS than me. Or this person's the meta, they don't even have to try, they can click 2 buttons and then boom, just instant DPS out the ass. Like, okay, like, I look into those factors. But if I see that I am out gearing these people and I might be the meta, I'm then looking at, okay, well, why are they out DPSing me? And then I look at myself as the player going like, okay, it's my gear. I need to change my trinkets. I need better embellishments. I need better enchants. I need better gems. I need to get higher crests so I can make my gear better, etc., etc., etc. I look into myself and get better that way. So with details and recount being gone, I'm not too happy about that because it's going to make me wanting to gear myself in the future a little more difficult because I'm probably going to have to now go to those websites and do all that same shit that I did not want to do before, but it will get done regardless. I can only hope that Blizzard is going to maybe build in something that works like details or recount outside of that, but I'm pretty sure they are not because they're just addressing doing counters and so forth and so forth. So I am very sad to see this add-on go away. The next add-on we're going to talk about is Deadly Boss Mods, or DBM as some people call it. I'll be honest, up until Dragonflight, I have not used DBM. I have always been like hardcoring it out there, trying to figure out mechanics on my own because I knew what DBM was, but I'll be honest, I really thought it made lazy WoW players because it's like if everything is told to you, you're not going to get better. But once again, we're going to reel it back to the player I am today, where I understand that not everybody understands every encounter. I was coming at it from a very selfish point of view, but I have to come from a we're a team. We're not all just one person in a party. We have to address this as a team. So as a team, I understand that maybe my friend who is a true casual player who only does this for fun and wants to join in on me, they might not understand you don't need a step in this. You need to use a defensive now. You need to interrupt this because this is more important than the other thing you interrupted. So yes, DBM is a very useful tool, and taking this away is going to probably hurt the player base. Honestly, I think it's going to hurt because the casual player is not going to understand these encounters. Blizzard's now expecting these casual players, these new players, these returning players to, if they want to do raiding, if they want to do Mythic Plus, that they now are going to have to read these guides to learn all the encounters, what not to stand in, what abilities have to be interrupted. Yeah, sure, they're going to have built-in stuff, but at the same time, if you do not understand it, it still doesn't make it easier. And I feel like DBM was a great tool that made it easier to understand. So with that said, I really hope their counters are great. But speaking of DBM, at least as far as it going away from the progression point of view, there is another great tool that you can use in DBM. I highly recommend that you still keep DBM. Don't get rid of it just because Midnight is saying ban. And that is, let's cue to the WoW screen for a second so I can show you a wonderful thing that you can also use DBM for. Alright, we're here in the World of Warcrafties, and I'm going to show you my other favorite feature that you can use DBM for. Sure, you can use TomTom tours for this as well, but DBM does this as well. So, say you want to find something in WoW. You can't find it. You go on Wowhead. Wowhead gives you these coordinates, and you're like, alright, what the hell do I do with that? Sure, you can get a add-on, I think it's called Simple Chords, where you can type it in and it puts a little target on your map, which is helpful if you know exactly where you're going. Sometimes things might be underneath something or below something or in a hole or underwater or whatever. DBM, you can slash type, copy the coordinates first off of Wowhead or whatever website that you got it from, and go into the game with DBM on, and you're going to slash type /d way, so the way, paste those coordinates in, and then hit enter. And now you will see this wonderful arrow that tells you a yardage in what direction you need to go. So I'm going to turn around. It now shows in front of me. So I'm going to mount up and we're going to fly over there. It's to something I've already collected, but ultimately I'm just trying to show you that this is another wonderful tool. There's also lag check, durability check. There's other things, keystone checking, but I don't really use those features. But this feature I use all the time. All the time. Especially looking for treasures, looking for rares, looking for, specific things I'm looking for in game. And once you're there, which it was this item here, which I cannot click on because I already have it. Once you're there, actually I'm not there. Nope, okay. I think it's over here somewhere. There's some item you click on and you get it. But once you're there, it literally disappears. And then you're there, pick up the item, boom. If the item's not there, boom, don't pick it up. And then the last point on the list is, what is the overall impact this is going to have? I really think that it's going to be both a positive and a minus. Minus at first, but it did say that there is room for improvement in the future. So maybe the add-on creators can really talk with Blizzard to try and see where they can go from here. Because when we enter Midnight and we're no longer with these combat add-ons, we're going to see a change in the player base. We're going to see a shift in how people play the games, because people who were not used to the old way are not gonna, immediately, quickly jump into this. There might be less people doing content, less people doing raiding, less people doing, Keystone, because they're like, well, we want our add-ons. We need this. But maybe Blizzard's, what they have planned for their actual built-in timers and so forth will be good. We don't know. I mean, unless you're playing alpha and you're seeing it in the raw form, we don't know what is going to be in the future of Midnight. So hopefully we can maybe see a return of these add-ons or a modified version of these add-ons. We don't know as far as that goes, but I do think that the people that heavily rely on these add-ons to do content are probably just not going to do content anymore. The casual players, they probably still will do content, but it's probably going to get really bad because they rely so much on those things telling you to dodge this, interrupt that. There's going to be a lot of frustration in the beginning, I believe, but I also think that there's going to be some people who are not frustrated because they are prepared for this. They know all the information, and or they're used to a world where we didn't really use add-ons. So I'm really interested to see what the overall impact is. I cannot say if it's going to be completely positive or completely negative, but I think it's going to be a very interesting take when we move into Midnight. Once again, if you liked my content, make sure, I almost said content, like like computer and content at the same time. That's not the correct words. But anyways, if you like what you saw here today, make sure you hit the like button, you hit subscribe so you can see more of my wonderful face. Hit the bell so you're notified when I make new videos or when shorts arrive, as I'm trying to post more often. Down below you will find, if you trickle down into the about section, you can find my other social medias, as I do live stream on Twitch. I also create content on TikTok. I'm trying to get better about Instagram. And of course, I am obviously here on YouTube making shorts of video games and videos about video games and whatever weird things I get into. So, as always, stay cuddly, my friends, and see you in the next adventure.